Hi, my name is Sophia Nourani, and I'm here with Medicine Horse at Chris Recording Studio in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. I appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just to start off, can we go on a line and have you guys introduce yourselves and the instruments that you play?
My name is Kyle Williams, guitar.
Nico Williams, vocals.
Garrett Heck, I play drums.
Travis Rowe, guitar.
Chris West, bass.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So just to start off, tell me a bit about how the band came together. You are based in Tulsa, but I think you guys are all from different places. So tell me how you got together.
Do I have to do this one?
Yep.
Okay. It started to come together with the three of us in 2020 during quarantine. Garrett was in our quarantine bubble. And so we were just all kind of getting together and they were jamming in our garage and really liking the sound that was coming together and kind of saw a future with it. And so we decided to put a band together and, everybody kind of came in their own time. Travis, Garrett, and Kyle have known for many years just in the Tulsa heavy music scene. And so, as we were kind of assembling this team to fit in all of our parts, Chris came along, I think, last and really just completed the unit of the band and, really tied everything together. And the entire time that was happening and coalescing, we were just writing songs and getting together this first album.
Speaking of, your first album is self-titled, your band, Medicine Horse. Kind of go into the reasoning for your selection for that band name.
Medicine Horse is a family name in Kyle's family. He's Ponca Oto Iwe, and Medicine Horse was a chief of the Oto Nation and his great-great-great-grandfather. And so he's just a really important ancestor in his family. And I think, I don't want to tell your story, but, he just had this idea in his head for many years of naming a band Medicine Horse in honor of this great chief and this great man who was a leader and, beloved member of the family. And when we started writing these songs and everything, started coming together and I joined in as a vocalist, it kind of started to come together that like this was finally the project that name would be able to be, that would live up to that name, hopefully. And so, that would represent it, Medicine Horse properly. And Medicine Horse is a name that is carried throughout generations of our family. So there's Medicine Horse that is our nephew, and there's a new Medicine Horse who's just been born, is a few months old, and so that name carries into the future, and so we consider our band another iteration of honoring that name.
Kind of tell me about the songs that you chose to play today, maybe in order that you played them.
We're trying to save her voice. No, we all just agreed on because, really her voice tonight, Roberta recorded her, she's really having a hard time. So there's a lot of singing involved. With the other one, it's it's a lot of screaming,
Right.
a lot of good things. So
Well, and it's, it's some, I think those songs are some of our favorites, different. Turning Tide was the first one that was ever written for Medicine Horse. The three of them did. Letitia's just a fave, and it's got, some Cajun culture in it, which is, falls to Chris, and Nico spent time in New Orleans area as well. And then The Orchard is just a really cool song that it ties even better with the language perspective, and what we were able to put that on a compilation with a lot of other artists that everything on that is in the Cherokee language, and that's an amazing thing to have because you don't see that often. So
yeah,
I gotta say something real quick. I want to say something about how this started, and it's correct, but it started with just Garrett. Me and Garrett had the idea, But Garrett wrote the very first song, Turning Tide. That was like all him by himself. He came up with the melodies for, that part of it. And that song right there, when her lyrics came in, is what, drove us.
We thought like this is something special.
Yeah.
When that song
Yeah.
started. Yeah, when that song started to come together, that was like the beginning of everything. Was Garrett coming over and us just hanging out and him being, messing around with it and saying like, "Hey, what do you guys think of this song?" And us being like, "I think we need to start a whole band based on this song. Is so good." And so we have to include that one. And so those choices are like just kind of really represent the themes that our album and our band are about. It's like about our families, our identity, our, representing who we are, and storytelling elements, and all of those things kind of tie together in those 3 songs.
But I think there's little elements of everybody in all that stuff too.
Yeah.
Like everything we all, like she said, bring to the table. We have some different backgrounds and are from different places, but we all, throw our piece into the stew, and that's what it comes out. So it's cool to do those, and I don't know, I feel like we represent everybody well, like the things everybody's into, because we like a lot of the same music, but we all like a lot of different music as well. So.
Yeah. So all the puzzle pieces just kind of fit together.
Oh man, yeah.
Beautifully.
And it's nice to, be in a band that everybody, it's like throw it in there, like see what happens, see what it works, and it makes things more interesting than sometimes you get in bands and it's like you gotta stick to the formula. No, you can do whatever you want to. So.
Yeah. So you kind of went into it a bit already, talking about the themes of your first album. Just kind of maybe tell me more about that as a concept, and kind of how like the songwriting process, the production process went for creating that album.
Well, I guess from my vocalist perspective is always that these guys come up with these really beautiful arrangements and these incredible songs, and I sit with them for a really long time, probably longer than they would like me to, until something comes out, for both the vocal melody and for the story that I want to tell. And sometimes it from that point of view, sometimes it happens more quickly. Sometimes the song just immediately, it tells me what it's about, and sometimes it takes me a little longer to dig into it. Like Letitia's one that immediately, like that very first little guitar riff that he plays when he was like kind of messing around with that before it was even a fully fleshed out thing, I was like, oh, well, this is like some dark bayou vibe, like that just immediately came to mind. And I wanted to, tell a story from Cajun folklore that I really love, and that is where Letitia came from. But then other songs that, I've just kind of sat with and listened to them really intently and said like, okay, what story is coming to mind with this? And that's usually how these, all of the songs on this album have come together. It's kind of just how we've, found a way to work, is they knock out these really incredible songs, and then I come in later and figure out what it's about. So, who wants to talk about musically how those things happen? Because you guys have a whole process too. Yeah.
So we all kind of bring something to the table. We all bring riffs and ideas, and I think that helps a lot. It makes it easier for everyone to put everything together and finish a song up, because we all have something on it already, kind of an idea of, I don't know.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, kind of what he said, somebody will have an idea. Sometimes we just jam it out together. We love to jam is probably the overarching theme. And, sometimes we'll knock them out and it just happens while we're in the room. But a lot of times we'll have kind of a beginning riff or an idea and say, what do you guys think about this? Okay, let's work it out. And we just start playing on it. And if it feels like it's doing something, then we keep going down that road. If it doesn't, maybe we put it on the back burner. But I don't think there's ever been an idea that somebody's brought that we haven't at least started down the path to explore. And we start kind of writing it out. And if it doesn't hit at the time or whatever, we hold on to it for a minute and but usually most stuff works out, and that's where all the different flavors come in really well too. Is, you know, as it starts to develop, you kind of hear where it goes in your head a little bit,
Right.
and you say, "Hey, let's try this, let's do this," and work it out. And you know, her talking about, you know, sitting with it and picking up the feeling of it to help write her lyrics, but that helps us too because it gives us time to kind of work at it without the pressure. We just kind of jam it out, and each time we get together, you know, we'll hit at it and see, and if we feel like it's finished, then it's finished. If we feel like we need to do something else with it, we will. But again, I think it makes it interesting, and it helps the Baskin Robbins. You know, you just keep adding flavor to it until you like it, and it feels like it represents what we are. So
Yeah. And are you guys planning on touring this album anytime soon, or what are your?
we do some small runs here or there, kind of regional stuff. You know, we're all grown folks and have, you know, a lot of different irons in the fire and businesses that they run and things like that. So we're
Shout out to Temptress for taking us.
Oh yeah, our good buddies Temptress. They take us out with them a lot, and we love that. And we love going to these other areas. You know, Wake in Arkansas, getting us into Arkansas, and we're very appreciative of all the bands that we play with. We've got some amazing friends that happen to make really kick-ass music, and so that helps a lot. So we tour when we can while managing our life.
And I feel like we're really touching upon something that's going to, you know, add more. I don't want to keep saying flavor, but you know, more.
I know what you're
Yeah.
saying.
There is a native metal scene. There are so many different bands
There's so many.
that are coming about. There's a lot of different bands that are coming about, and so I think, but also being that Native culture is so diverse and varied that, you know, we're representing, and even just within our own band, we're diverse and varied because you're seeing, you know, Ponca dancers waving the Ponca flag while I'm singing in Cherokee. This is an intertribal band. This is a band where, you know, though the initial idea was to have an all-native band, I love that we are a band of mixed representation here because that's what our region is about. That's what Oklahoma and Tulsa are about. That's what this country is about, is that these guys understand us and listen to us. And when I come with songs that might have lyrics that they're like, what is that about? I feel like I can tell them the story and what it means to me. And it builds bridges of understanding. And that's what I think is powerful about our music. And what I want it to accomplish is for people, regardless of their identity, to be able to relate to it and learn something from it and enjoy it. And also just like groove and jam out to it. You know, it has to have all of those elements. And so that's what we bring to the Native metal scene. And I think that there are a lot of bands out there that are, you know, that are all Native. And that serves a purpose too. And that's incredible. And I think we all feel really fortunate and grateful to be able to kind of exist in both worlds, walk both worlds. That's what being Native is about, is existing in both worlds, and that's part of it. Yeah.
They covered that well. Sometimes I have a problem with the sludge part because we are definitely sludge metal with a lot of elements, but we have so many other elements of other things. So it's, you know, you have to put some kind of a name or a genre on it for marketing and stuff like that. But we have so many different styles within our songs. It's just insane.
And you know, I used to ask folks kind of what genre or term they identified with most, but as I've interviewed artists and musicians, I've realized that that's not a question people typically like to answer.
Yeah,
don't like to put yourself in one box.
You have so many influences, and they all come through in some way or another, and it's hard to limit that.
Yeah.
Put a name on it.
And the people that like make the music, they know where certain parts are coming from. Like oh my God, the Van Halen riff or the whatever riff, you know, because I kind of know where I'm tapping into, but you may never pick that up. It may kind of all sound, so putting those labels on it helps people know people find you. If they're into sludge, hey, you'll probably be into this because most of it is that. But like I've said a couple of times, we just have a lot of different elements and add to it. And I love music like that because it keeps it fresh and it keeps it original. If you're just doing the same thing all the time, you can kind of wear that rug out, and it's like that's cool for some, but I like to be able to add things, and you don't feel like you're stuck. You know what I mean? You can bring just about anything you want, to these guys, and it's like, yeah, let's give it a run and see what's up.
Thank you guys.
What are you gonna say, Cajun?
Yeah.
Don't
we
say
need
it.
to
Christian
hear
Bickle
some bass
House
players.
from
I mean, everything that you guys talked about, especially types of music and how our tastes are very different. Very similar, but very different. But going back to maybe a couple questions before, talking about like indigenous culture. I grew up in New Orleans, moved to Oklahoma after Hurricane Katrina. With that being said, I grew up in like Cajun, French, and Creole culture. So I was completely ignorant to anything indigenous culture, native culture. There is a lot of native tribes in Louisiana, but they don't get talked about at all, really, unless you're from that specific area. So when I moved here in Oklahoma, which has like one of the highest, and I might be wrong on this, I think it has the most highest native population in the country. So I started learning a lot, and I started diving back into my own culture, Cajun culture, and found out how much they shared with each other. From the Cajuns that originally went to Acadiana in Nova Scotia, that they shared the land with the native tribes there, and then to Louisiana as well. And it made me reflect a lot personally with this band to like dig and keep digging and see the connections that walked between my culture and how they intertwined with native culture. And it gave me a whole new respect for indigenous culture in the U.S. and their struggles and different things. And for me to be a part of this band and just take it and tell the story of indigenous people is amazing. So, yeah.
So you guys are on Bandcamp, and you're also on Spotify, and then
All streaming services.
yes,
Yeah.
Nice question.
yes.
Nice.
www.
Where else can folks?
They can find us on some of the cool places to find us. I mean, of course, there's Bandcamp, and that's where we direct people to buy all of our merch and all of our music and different things like that. We prefer people go through Bandcamp. Everybody knows from an artist standpoint, the streaming services are great, but it doesn't support us to take us financially to the next level. So we love for people to buy our albums on Bandcamp. You can buy our digital albums on Bandcamp, and I think it's $8. So you can have our whole album on your phone, and that way we get something from it.
It's a great way to find other bands.
And yeah, Bandcamp is an amazing site, and it's kind of underground. A lot of people don't know about Bandcamp, but if you're into underground music or just music in general, you can search genres. You can nail down anything, and you can find that next new artist that you love. But places to follow us that are fun. Facebook's okay. That's where we put a lot of information out. But like the really cool stuff is Instagram and TikTok. Those are two places that we're able to really like open up and tell stories and post TikToks and Reels. And those are cool places to follow us.
And what are your handles for those?
So Instagram is it's Medicine Horse 918, and it's the same for TikTok.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I asked you guys in the beginning. Is there anything else that you feel like I didn't ask you?
Horton Records.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely Horton Records is our current label that we're on, and to tell a quick story about who they are and what they've done for us, Horton is a 501c like record label. Did I get that right?
Yeah, nonprofit.
Nonprofit. I think that's a quick and easier way to say it. So
Tax code
Yeah.
1420.
so he's a nonprofit, and it's what he does is it takes emerging Oklahoma and Tulsa. It's Oklahoma actually.
Yeah.
Oklahoma artists, and he gets them to record. He helps guide us through the processes that a lot of us, we don't know how to distribute our album and how to upload our albums to all these different sites. And he teaches us how to do it ourselves, become self-sufficient. And the great thing is Horton gets nothing in return. So if another big label approached us and was like, hey, we want you to sign on us, Horton is actually, he wants us to do that. Yeah, that's what he wants.
He's like a springboard for Oklahoma music, and it's
Yeah.
amazing to have that because
So,
it's a springboard for Oklahoma music, and it's amazing to have that because I don't know that every area or every mid to big city has that, and with labels it becomes a lot more business related with Horton and what's going on there. It's just for a love of the music, a love of the scene, and to help build out, because Tulsa, Oklahoma City too. We're from Tulsa, so we're always going to pump up Tulsa. Tulsa has an amazing music scene. It's kind of small and tight in that middle area. A lot of people don't think of. You always think of the coasts for stuff that's going on, but Tulsa is kind of centrally located, and so you get all kinds of things coming from the south, coming from the different coasts, from the Midwest down from Texas, and it all just swirls around and combines there. And so you get some really amazing music, amazing musicians, just a lot of cool stuff going on. And he has been, I feel like, integral to making a lot of that happen. Like Chris said, he helps people get their music out there and start down that path. And we couldn't be more thankful for the opportunity that he's given us. So,
I mean, it gets harder and harder for artists these days.
yeah, absolutely. And just like Chris said, from some of the knowledge perspective and saying, hey, you might want to do this or you might want to try that, because otherwise you can read out on the internet, but for everything you're looking for, you can find an opinion on either side of it. So you just kind of take in and close your eyes and take a best guess. So having somebody there that can kind of help navigate you and isn't looking to try to take advantage of you. He's there for you. He's not trying to extract, money from you. So it's all, for lack of a better word, it just feels it's safe.
Yeah.
He's not trying to mess with you. Whatever you want your stuff to be is what it is. Let's get it out there and see, get it going.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think a good way to look at Brian Horton, who is Horton Records, is like for the bands that he takes on and does this, it's like having a dad. Almost. And it doesn't, even if we were to sign with another label, I think we would always hey Brian, does this sound right? Or we were able to, and he's like that. I mean, he's done a lot of bands, a lot of different, and it's a lot of genres too. It's not just metal. It's Americana, it's blues, it's country, rock and roll. He does it all. So it's amazing. I mean, I think a lot of us call him Daddy Horton. So, but he's awesome. So, and we can't. I don't know if we'd be able to, with the album. I don't think we would have had this reach on our first album if we were to just try to self-put it out there.
Yeah, we'd have still been figuring out a lot.
Yeah.
So
We'd still be on Reddit trying to figure out what.
yeah.
so
It's good to have those folks with experience to help.
yeah. It's just amazing what that I don't know of anybody else. I'm sure there are other people out there doing it, but we're very thankful for him. So yeah.
Is there anything else that anyone wants to share or add about about yourselves?
Go Tigers.
No.
I guess quick shout out. We said, talked about Temptress last night. We played with a band called Slumbering Sun, who are close friends of ours, and they're absolutely amazing. And they tour around the region a lot. And they're another band that we like to try to get out with. Tulsa homies Dust Lord, they just put out a new album on Horton. It's a beautiful record. They did a great job. Man, I know I'm missing other people.
Everybody would be here all day.
And just you want to try to throw that stuff out there. But Tulsa's got it's a small scene. It's got good stuff going on, and then regionally in this kind of southwest region, there's a lot of good music, and especially in these genres, coming up from Austin and Dallas and things like that.
And here in Arkansas.
Yeah, oh man, Arkansas.
Yeah.
We talked about Wake,
Mammoth Caravan.
Mammoth Caravan, Weather, Sea Hag, all these cats that are just, they've been so good to us coming into their area. And it's a really good feeling when you go somewhere and people just kind of embrace you, and it makes you feel like you're, part of the gang when you're there. And we try to feed that back when people are in Tulsa. Because if you don't, then you don't have a scene, you don't have things going on. The more bands, the more love, the more everybody's getting together and playing, the more the merrier. It just brings the whole thing up. So it's good for everybody. And man, there's probably 100 other bands that I need to name.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
And I appreciate you taking the time and speaking with me today. This has been a production of KUAF Public Radio. We're at Chris Recording Studios in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Thank you for tuning in.